there's a silence that isn't peaceful. It lingers in empty rooms, echoes in untouched teacups, and weighs heavier with each passing day. It's not just the absence of noise, but the absence of being seen, heard, and needed. For many older individuals, this is not a passing moment, it is daily life. And the harsh reality is, aging alone is not simply a lifestyle. It can become a quiet crisis. We live in a world that celebrates independence, but in the later chapters of life, this independence often turns into isolation. What once felt like freedom begins to feel like abandonment. And yet, millions walk this path silently, often unseen by the society that once leaned on them. There is a kind of emptiness that does not come from the lack of material things, but from the absence of meaningful presence. The room may be full of furniture, but it feels hollow. The sunlight may enter through the window, but it brings no warmth to the heart. This is the reality that many older individuals face when they live alone. And this reality is not something that can be ignored, because it is not simply about being alone, it is about what that aloneness begins to do within. A wise person once said, "The opposite of love is not hate, it is indifference." And what does loneliness feel like if not the sense that the world has become indifferent to your existence? When the phone doesn't ring for days, when no one asks how you are, when no footsteps echo in the hallway except your own. It is in such silence that the emotional toll begins to settle, not like a loud storm, but like a slow fog that covers the mind and the heart alike. Loneliness is not just an emotional discomfort, it has weight. It presses on the shoulders and narrows the breath. It becomes a companion that follows from room to room, and over time that loneliness hardens into something deeper, into sadness, into hopelessness, into depression. And this depression is not always the kind that announces itself. It does not always bring tears. Sometimes, it simply steals the desire to get dressed. It dulls the flavor of food. It makes the days long and the nights even longer. There was a woman who once shared her story. She had children, but they lived far away. Her husband had passed many years ago. She said, "I wake up every day and talk to my plants because they're the only living things that hear my voice." This is not poetry, it is reality. And this woman, like many others, carries herself with strength, but the loneliness she feels lives quietly beneath her smile. When a person grows older, they are often praised for being independent, for living on their own, for not being a burden. But independence must not become a prison. To be alone without choice is not freedom. Freedom lies in being seen, in being cared for, in knowing that your presence still matters to someone. When that sense of mattering fades, so too does the will to fully engage with life. And the emotional toll of such solitude is not only a matter of the heart, it becomes a disease of the entire being. The mind begins to create stories of unworthiness. The body loses its vitality, and the soul begins to shrink. Human beings are not meant to live in isolation. From birth we are carried, held, nurtured. In youth, we build friendships and bonds. Yet in old age, the structure of support slowly vanishes unless it is intentionally rebuilt. There is a powerful story of a retired schoolteacher who spent 40 years shaping young minds. When she retired, she moved to a quiet countryside home. Her life, once full of voices, suddenly became silent. She developed insomnia, not from stress, but because the quiet was too loud. Her mind began to echo with the absence of interaction. Eventually, she began volunteering at a local school, again not to teach but simply to read stories. And that single act of connection restored the rhythm of her life. The emotional toll of being alone is not a weakness of the individual, it is a reflection of the community's failure to include. Elders are not meant to sit at the edge of society. They are the keepers of wisdom, the storytellers of experience, the ones who have seen life through its many seasons. And yet, so often they are left in silence. That silence becomes the soil where sorrow grows. Now let us reflect on the physical consequences of this solitude. When an older person lives alone, there are many unseen dangers that follow. Imagine a man who takes his blood pressure medication, but forgets to eat a proper meal. Or a woman who begins to feel dizzy, but dismisses it, because there is no one around to notice the changes in her behavior. When no one is observing, small health issues grow into larger ones. The body, like the heart, needs regular attention. It needs movement, nourishment, care. But living alone often leads to irregular meals, minimal exercise, and the absence of someone to say, "Let's go for a walk," or "Did you drink enough water today?" In younger years, people often take such interactions for granted. But, in older age, these interactions become essential for survival. There was a story of an elderly man who lived by himself in a small apartment. He prided himself on being independent, but one day he slipped while getting out of the shower. He was unable to reach the phone. He lay there for almost a full day until a neighbor, noticing that his newspaper had not been picked up, decided to check on him. That small gesture may have saved his life, but it also revealed how thin the line is between safety and danger when someone lives alone. Emergency situations are not the only concern. Malnutrition is another hidden danger. Cooking, for one, does not feel the same as cooking for a family. The motivation to prepare a healthy, balanced meal fades when no one is there to share it. Many older adults living alone gradually begin to eat less and less well. They may snack on processed foods, skip meals altogether, or rely on convenience instead of nutrition. The result is a slow depletion of energy and immunity. When no one checks in, even medications may be missed or taken incorrectly. It's not uncommon for seniors to become confused about dosages or to simply forget. In a home where two people live, one might remind the other. But in solitude, there is no reminder, no second pair of eyes. A small mistake can lead to hospitalization, or worse, physical movement also declines. Without a companion to go on walks with, the incentive to move the body fades. Muscles begin to weaken, balance decreases, and the risk of falls increases. These falls are not always severe, but even a minor injury can mean weeks of recovery, and for someone alone, that recovery can be lonely, frightening, and incomplete. The body and mind are not separate in these situations. As physical health declines, emotional health follows. And as emotional strength withers, the body loses its will to thrive. This is why living alone as an older person must not be viewed merely as a matter of personal choice or pride. It must be recognized as a risk that deserves collective care and attention. When a tree begins to wither, we do not blame the tree. We look at the soil, the sunlight, the water. In the same way, when our elders begin to decline, we must ask, have we offered them enough connection, enough nourishment, not just for the body, but for the soul? Let it be known, aging is not the problem. Loneliness is living alone, without emotional support and physical awareness, turns aging into suffering. But where there is presence, even old age can be full of beauty, of reflection, of peace. Presence is the medicine, presence of people, of community, of care, and that medicine is not found in prescriptions. It is found in the simplest of human gestures, a visit, a shared meal, a kind word, a silent companionship. A stream loses its clarity when the flow is interrupted. The same applies to the human mind. When the current of daily interaction, purpose, and stimulation dries up, what remains is stagnant water, still, heavy, and clouded. This is what happens to the minds of many elderly individuals who live in isolation. Cognitive sharpness, like a blade, must be regularly honed, not only through reading or puzzles, but through connection, through the simple, unplanned conversations that challenge memory, stir curiosity, and keep awareness fresh. When a person lives alone for long periods, the environment becomes too familiar. There are no new stimuli, no unexpected questions, no external reflections. Everything runs in repetition, the same chair, the same breakfast, the same quiet. Over time, the mind grows dull, not from age alone, but from the absence of engagement. There is a profound difference between resting the mind and leaving it unchallenged. A resting mind rejuvenates, a neglected mind weakens. There was once a man who, after his wife passed, found himself surrounded by silence. For years their mornings had been filled with newspaper discussions, arguments about the crossword, and laughter over mispronounced words. After she was gone, he continued to buy the paper, but it remained folded on the table. One day a neighbor's child came over to deliver something, and out of curiosity asked him about a picture in the news. He found himself explaining, then questioning, then thinking deeper. That 5-minute exchange stayed with him for the rest of the day. It reminded him that his mind still longed to be used not in solitude, but in dialogue. These do not cost much, but they are powerful medicine for the soul. They create moments where the elderly feel not like patients to be managed, but like people to be embraced. But it is not only institutions that must rise to this calling. Every individual can play a role. If there is an older neighbor on your street, speak to them. Ask for advice, not out of politeness, but out of genuine interest. If you are a younger family member, take the time to ask your grandparent about their youth. The stories may seem simple, but within them lies a lifetime of wisdom. It is through these small gestures that dignity is restored, because aging is not a descent, it is a continuation of life's rhythm, with its own depth and grace. And no one should have to walk this path alone. When we create systems that offer both emotional connection and intellectual stimulation, we do not just improve the life of one elder, we strengthen the thread that binds generations. And it is this thread that weaves the true fabric of well-being, not just for the old, but for. So let us not allow our seniors to grow old in silence. Let us listen now, while they are still speaking.